It's 5:55 p.m. on Tuesday, November 29th, and we will start the Rent Control Board meeting. The agenda for this evening is to discuss and vote on Hillcrest 2022 rent adjustment petition, discuss and vote on request for certificates of eviction of residents of Hillcrest Manufactured Home Community, and other new business not reasonably anticipated. We have from the Rent Control Board this evening, myself, Brian Kane, Susan Sullivan, Eileen Sina, and Jen Constable and David and Mark Laverty. So we have a few, it looks like a few people from the Hillcrest community as well. David, if you wanted to, or Mark, Mr. Laverty, is it you who would like to start the speaking about the Hillcrest petition?
Sure, absolutely. So again, my name is Mark Laverty. I'm one of the attorneys for Hillcrest, and we have submitted a rent adjustment petition for 2022. It's an adjustment of the rents that would begin on July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023. We've submitted that petition. There's several sections in that petition. The first one is the annual registration statement, which we have submitted. We have submitted the actual petition itself, where in this case, Hillcrest is asking for a CPI increase of 5.3% CPI. And that's consistent with the rules and regulations that were adopted by the Rent Control Board back on May 13th of 2014, allowing a CPI increase. The current rents at Hillcrest right now are $674.64. Those are the current rents throughout the community. That does include the $12 licensing fee. With the increase, it would amount to an increase of $35.12 per month, bringing the total rents to $709.76. I'm sure the board has reviewed the petition. It's Hillcrest's position. It contains all the relative information. There was notices sent out to all the residents, and we're asking that the Rent Control Board, in accordance with their rules and regulations that were revised back in May 13th of 2014, approve the CPI increase for Hillcrest.
Mr. Laverty, I just have one question regarding the rent increase for this year going forward. It was, we were hoping to get this passed sometime earlier. So there are months since July that would be owed. How is Hillcrest planning to handle those past rents?
So they're not in a position to forgive the past rents, but they are most certainly willing to work with residents. Originally we used to do it over a 3-month period, but they've extended it since COVID, and even the last petition. If any resident requests some time to pay back the rent increase over time, they would do that even up to 12 months just to get people back on track and get current with their rent.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a, sorry, go ahead, Sue.
Sue?
I was just curious, if many of the residents have reached out to you to make arrangements to pay their back rent, the ones that have received a notice.
So they haven't received this notice, obviously, but Tom Lenahan, he's the community manager. He could discuss that, but I know residents reached out to him. We've had some eviction actions where we've worked out payment plans with people. So they're willing to work with people to get them back on track.
My question was, last year, the board approved for you to pursue, due process in certain evictions, and there were like nearly 10 of them. give or take, and they were anywhere from 8 to 12 or more $1,000 a piece, which it doesn't take much of a mathematician to figure out that was about 15% of your operating expenses. You know, many of these, now there's many more. The first I saw were 1,200, 1,400, 1,600. So I'm not seeing numbers like I saw last year. How far away has there been any kind of communication? And again, the challenge is that you don't have a community representative or a corporate representative on the committee, which you have two, which is two of our open seats, which helps create part of the confusion of getting a quorum. So we all want to be fair and just ask, I guess, some simple questions.
Sure.
How close?
So the issue with the 2 vacant seats, it's problematic for Hillcrest because the town requires the rent control board members to be a resident of the town of Rockland. So it puts Hillcrest in a difficult position from the corporate standpoint. They would need a Rockland town resident in order to sit on the board. And they also haven't had any Hillcrest tenants offer to sit on the board other than Miss Kidd, who did in the past.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because we don't have a representative that actually works for Providence LLC, but that's a whole nother issue.
So at this moment in time, Brian, we're dealing with the rent increase.
Okay,
That's what our vote will be about right now.
so I have
After
one
we
question.
decide to vote on that one way or the other, then we'll be going to the evictions.
So I have one question for our attorney, this David K, please. What's the difference between not having a quorum last time with 4 members than this time with 4 members?
I'm sorry.
Last time I got a scathing email from you because I couldn't make the meeting and there were only 4 people to vote, not
3.
making a quorum. Why is this different? I'm asking you deliberately, straightly forward, forget everything else.
The previous meeting only had 3 members.
So who was the other missing member?
I think the only my memory was that it was Deb, and I think Eileen wasn't, and I think it was Miss Sullivan.
Okay, so we don't really know. That's fine. We'll just end it there. I'm sorry, but I had a challenge on that because you literally
we
were
please-
busting my chops over
Brian.
bullshit. Okay, yes,
Brian,
next.
please. Can we
I'm
stick to the
muting.
subject, please? We're gonna be voting on the rent increase for Hillcrest, the petition for a rent increase. Did anyone else have any further questions regarding the rent increase that's at hand? Mr. Nokia? I think you're muted.
Sir, and then I'd ask you to unmute yourself, and also for anyone who is appointed to speak tonight, just per the board's rules, please state your name and address before you speak, so we have a record of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think he's able to unmute himself. I don't have any controls.
You might actually, as the
Oh, do I?
I think you can ask, or you might be able to give them a prompt on the upper right. There should be a little option.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Unmute me. Yeah, I just want to know, what are we getting for this 5% increase?
Again, sir, please state your name and address for the
Oh, I'm
record.
sorry. I'm Howard McGinnis, 68 Fairview Street. I just want to know what we're getting as far as you're raising it, what, another $35? This goes on every year. And we get nothing. I mean, we used to have a dumpster. We have that on Tom has to set that up twice a year now instead of having it here all the time.
I don't, does anyone on this meeting have any comments that they would like to make in regard to his questions?
Mr. Leon, might you be able to help answer that question?
Yes, hi, my name is Tom Lennon, 142 Lakeshore Drive in Westwood. We do have, specifically to answer the question about dumpsters, we have dumpsters twice a year. And, it's a much more controlled environment now whereby it's scheduled and we notify residents. In the past, we had a haphazard arrangement that turned into a health hazard because people were dumping without any sort of notice, and it just needed to be controlled. So we absolutely do have dumpsters. In fact, Mr. McGinnis lives right next door to the dumpster. We provide a safe community. We provide snow removal. We take care of the landscaping areas for common areas. We have a postal mailbox. Those are obvious things we all know we have. Costs do increase. CPI obviously affects all of us, and being conscious of that, we do pass on a reasonable fee and an increase, and just as most, if not all, communities do.
Thank you.
Okay, fine. But the cost of living is 3.1% a year. Why are we getting almost double that cost of living?
Because the rent control rules and regulations refer back to the CPI increase that's published every single year. This increase goes back to November of 2021. So that's the CPI increase for the area where this property is located. And that's just what it happens to be this year. It's 5.3%. Sometimes in the past, it's been very small amount. Sometimes it's been a little bit larger.
I mean, you do have.
I'm sorry, I muted you.
No,
Sorry.
that's all I had to say.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
it's gonna go
I'm
through and
gonna mute you again. Okay. Because we don't have any information stating that there have been any complaints that have been sent along to the any of the Rockland boards, the Board of Health, Planning Board, or the Housing Court, to my knowledge. Mr. Laverty, do you have any information stating anything has been sent over?
No, we're not aware of any Board of Health report complaints that are outstanding. I'm not aware of any actions that have been filed in the housing court regarding any conditions at the property, any problems. We're not aware of anything.
Okay.
I can
So with
confirm.
that, I would like to put it out for a vote that we approve the Hillcrest petition for a rent increase. All those in favor? So we have 3 out of 4. Yes. So that would be passed, I'm assuming.
Could we just identify the 3 that are
Sure, sure, I'm sorry.
record?
The yes votes are myself, Deb Roby, Sue Sullivan and Eileen Sina all voted to approve. Brian? No. Brian did not approve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for my,
I did approve.
oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
That's
You did.
okay.
So
But
we're
I
all
did
in
have,
favor.
I did have one other question regarding Hillcrest, which may be off subject, but Mr. Lennon, do you have lift stations there or are you on septic?
There's a lift station that connects to the town.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. See, because that's been a big confusion with other subjects about stuff. So I was just curious to know how that was being managed, and thank you for answering that.
Okay, so the vote was unanimously voted to be approved for the rent, the petition for the rent increase for Hillcrest. The next on the agenda is the petitions for evictions. Mr. Laverty?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I have before the board tonight 7 petitions that we filed for certificates of eviction. And just to clarify, the sole purpose of the certificates of eviction is so that the landlord can take the next step, which is to file an action either in the housing court or the district court. It doesn't mean that anybody is actually evicted from the premises. Even if the board does issue a certificate of eviction, it just allows the landlord to start the legal process to get these residents in court and in hopes of resolving the non-payment of rent issues. All of these residents have a right to defend themselves in court, as well as the landlord. So I just wanted to make it clear for everybody about that. I have 7 that are before the board, and in no specific order, I can go through each one. And I'll refer to it by address rather than by name.
Okay.
So the first one I have is 27 Balsam Street. And that home site was served a 30-day notice to quit for non-payment of rent back on April 15th of 2022. They have not cured or paid any rent since that date, and they still have an outstanding balance with Hillcrest in the amount of $19,545.70. And we're requesting that the board issue a certificate of eviction, allowing my client to proceed forward in the housing court with an eviction action.
Are we to take these each individually? David?
It's
I
yeah,
believe
it's-
we- yeah,
it
I
doesn't
believe we
put a
did
question.
it.
It might be simplest to do individually, and if there's anyone who wants to speak on this matter from the residents' perspective, give them the opportunity, and then the board can vote and move down the list. That might be simplest, just to make a clean record of each,
Okay,
rather than if there's issues, just in case there's issues or discussions about individual ones, it might be simplest just go through them
Okay.
individually.
okay.
I
Thank you.
believe we did that last time, and so move forward. Mute again.
Okay. So at this time, I guess I'll just put it out, if there's anything anyone wants to add to 27 Balsam Street for a request for eviction. If not, then we can vote to approve the eviction. All those in favor? Could you, I'll go on record as myself. Yay.
Sue Sullivan, yay.
I'll go on record as seconding it.
Okay.
Eileen Sina, yay.
Okay. So we approve that. Would anybody second? You're going on record as seconding? Brian,
Well,
did you vote?
that's the process. When you make a proposal, somebody has to second it, then there's a motion for discussion, and then there's a vote. So that's Robert's Rules of Order. So
Okay.
there should be an opportunity for any residents then to speak after we second a motion. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
I believe Jen Constable or our attorney is responsible for kind of coaching us through this. But that's what's created confusion over the last year. And I'm not being crude, but I'm being truthful.
No, that's fine.
You know,
That's fine.
no.
Yep.
No,
I was
you can't-
elected as a chairperson and evident,
And
I'm
I
not-
nominated you. I
I'm not
nominated
doing
you.
the best job.
I love
sorry.
you, all right? I love, okay, I love everybody. I don't want to see anybody evicted, but we don't evict people. But
Right,
this process
could
could
I-
help bring people together. That's all we can do.
okay.
So
Brian, did you vote?
I did, I second your motion.
Okay,
So Eileen should have that in her notes to distribute to us after this meeting, of the meeting minutes, that you
Mm,
and I, and the vote was this, and this is who was in the meeting and who wasn't, and blah, blah, blah. That's Eileen's position as clerk.
Me, Eileen?
yes.
Eileen, you're the clerk.
I
You're supposed
am?
to take the minutes of the meetings.
Oh, no, I never knew that.
Go
I
back
s-
over the records. Good
Okay.
clerk. You're doing
All
good
right.
clerking. Excellent job.
I'm at a loss for words here. Okay, so we have voted, all three of us have, four of us have voted unanimously to approve the eviction for 27 Boston Street. And evidently I'm not following Robert's rules, but it has been approved.
Thank you. The next certificate of eviction that I have requested is 6 Alpine Street. That home site was served with a 30-day notice to quit for non-payment of rent back on September 1st of 2022. At that time, they had an outstanding balance of $3,530.27. That household has not brought the account current. They now have an outstanding balance of $5,584.55, and we're requesting that this board issue a certificate of eviction.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the eviction request for 6 Alpine Street. I will vote yes.
I'll second it. Is there any
Okay.
further discussion? Any
Any
people?
further discussion? No, all right.
And Deb, I only ask that because there's people sitting here and they may be part of the queue. We don't know.
Right.
That's all. I'm sorry.
That's fine. So Sue Sullivan,
Sue Sullivan votes in the affirmative.
Brian, your vote? Yes. Eileen?
Yes,
Okay, that's approved unanimously.
Thank you. The next certificate of eviction before the board is 7C Alpine Street. That home site was served with a notice to quit back on September 1st of 2022. They had an outstanding balance of $3,104.91. They have not brought the account current, and they still have an outstanding balance of $5,169.30. And we're requesting that the board issue a certificate of eviction.
Thank you. Okay, I make a motion to approve 7C Alpine Street request for eviction. Anyone want to second that?
Second, and I vote affirmative.
Well, I think I forgot to say I vote in favor.
You know,
Brian?
I have one concern about this. And I'm gonna vote in the affirmative, but it's $1,000. We can't get together and solve $1,000 problem in a reasonable course of action here. We really have to go to court. I guess that's the problem I have with many of these claims is they're $1,200 and $1,000 is a lot of money, people. But yes, I'll stop. But this is really, it's not like it was $10,000 a year ago or $12,000. We're talking $1,000. So that's why I asked the question about whether or not these were sublets.
Well, I haven't presented one before the board that's been $1,000. So, I mean, I have one at 5,000, 5,000,
That,
19,000.
that one was just 1,000 and what? How much?
No, the one that we're talking about right now is $5,169.50.
So those are much higher than the notices we received because the notices we received were 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, 1,600. So this is still continued to be an ongoing problem.
That is correct. Yeah.
And I've already voted positive for it, but I just want a clarification. Okay, it just seems like some of it's short money.
And I'll vote yes, Eileen Cena.
Okay. So it's been approved unanimously by all of us for approval for eviction for 7C Alpine Street.
So the next one before the board, thank you, is 61 Fairview Street. This home site was served with a notice to quit back in April 15th of 2022. The outstanding balance at that time was $6,391.63. No payments have been made on this account. And the outstanding balance right now is $10,547.31. And we're requesting that the board issue a certificate of eviction for 61 Fairview Street.
I'll make the motion on that one.
Second,
I vote in favor of eviction for 61 Fairview Street.
I vote in favor as well.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The next home site is 41 Crestview. That home site was served with a notice quit back in September of 2022. At that time, the outstanding balance was $4,142.79. Presently, the outstanding balance is $5,797.31. And we're requesting that a certificate of eviction issue for that home site, 41 Crestview.
I'm the tenant at 41 Crestview. I'd like to-
May I please get your name, sir?
Billy Kosinski, 41 Crestview Street, Rockland.
And did you have something that you wanted to state?
Yeah, that's my eviction they're going for. Tom had just recently stated how they provide a safe community for us. But soon after he took over the community, he painted the speed bumps with, I've been a mason my whole life. He painted the speed bumps with the paint that was not safe, and it provided a hazard. And I have since then, during a snowstorm, I got dropped off at the front gate of the complex and couldn't see the speed bump because it was covered with snow. The thing was like ice. As soon as my foot hit it, I fell, I hit my head. I've been going for medical treatment. I continue to go for medical treatment, and it's definitely not safe. He did it. You know, since then, they have repainted the speed bumps with what would probably be a safer product. But at the time that I fell, he had already known that the product he used was unsafe and nobody had done anything about it. So that's the reason why my particular site is up for eviction.
Thank you. Mr. Monahan, would you like to say anything regarding?
The product that I use, I know what Billy is talking about, and he did mention that he had fallen a month or so after the incident, and we did create an incident report and notify our risk management team. The product that I used was very much for that purpose. It's line striping material, so it's specifically designed to create a vibrant yellow color for safety so that people don't speed through the community and create unnecessary harm on themselves or others because it slows people down. Again, this material was purchased with knowledge of what it was. I understand what he's saying, and that might be the case, that he slipped and fell. There was no witnesses of that, but the material is designed for that purpose. As Billy stated, we have recently painted another area which we've used a different product additive to add a non-slip surface, and it does, I think, enhance the surface, but I don't think that there was any negligence or anything like that involved in that incident. No one else had seemed to had fallen. In fact, we've received compliments that these things that I'm doing and that contractors we're hiring are making the community safer and more appealing.
Several people have actually told the management about the slippery condition. The paint that he used was not for speed bumps. It was, like he said, for lines and for posts. It's not something that should be walked on, rather than just a line on the ground. It's not for a whole speed bump. And there was several witnesses of my fall. As a matter of fact, when I reported the fall to Tom's assistant, Kristen, she told me that she had already heard from several of the tenants that had witnessed it. And she didn't know that it was me that had fallen until I told her it was me. But they quite well know that there was witnesses, and there were several witnesses. It wasn't just me out there that snowstorm. There was a half dozen witnesses.
Madam Chair, may I be heard briefly?
Pardon me?
I may be heard briefly. Just
Yes,
before.
certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski, for the comments. I just to the participants in the board, just to reiterate, for the purposes of today, for their certificates of eviction, the board is not determining whether or not any resident should be evicted, nor does this process evict them, as Attorney Laverty had indicated. The process for the board, this is just kind of a procedural benchmark for Hillcrest in order for them to effectuate down the line the evictions they're pursuing. The board's purview today on whether or not to allow or deny an eviction certification is limited to primarily, a notice has been issued, which the board has received copies of each, and just whether or not the the management's petition is valid, as so long as it's the grounds provided are reasonable. And for each of these, Mr. Laverty's, it's for non-payment of rent. And so any other claims or issues or protests that any resident may have regarding their eviction, they're free to pursue in other avenues, not within this board's purview to be grounds to deny a certificate of eviction, so long as the board finds the notice has been met and Hillcrest has given reasonable grounds as a basis for the eviction.
Okay, thank you. David? May I ask you a question?
Yes.
So the wording that I've been using as far as approval of the petition for eviction, is that incorrect?
Nope, No, it's been fine. We've been-
Okay, thank you.
We're just approving that we'll follow up later. We'll be issuing a certificate of eviction, just approving the certificate of eviction as applied for by Hillcrest. So the process we've been doing so far has been fine.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we just wanted to give, and there might, and I suspect based on the call list, there'll be a few other residents. You certainly can be heard, and I think the board should hear them, but just for the board's analysis, any potential claim or cause as to why there might be non-payment, it's just so long as Hillcrest is given reasonable grounds for the eviction. And your determinations today do not evict the resident. It just allows them to continue the process. Well, there will be a form in which the residents can protest their eviction there.
Right.
Well, just one quick question, if I may. I'm sorry, Billy. Is there any other course of action concerning personal injury that you've been taking with Hillcrest, vice versa? And it really has no bearing so much on what the decision may lie in, but I'm just curious to know, is there anything else in action right now?
There isn't, I haven't hired legal, I haven't hired an attorney yet. I was hoping it wouldn't go that direction. When I got my notice to quit, I approached Kristen about making some kind of payment arrangements, and she told me at that point that it was out of their hands, and once it goes to legal, there's nothing they can really do about it. So therefore, they shot me down as far as trying to make some kind of payment arrangements. At this point, I may have to seek legal representation. I also would like to know exactly how would someone be on the board if I wanted to represent Hillcrest as, on the rent control board. What would that entail? Or how would I go about doing that?
Deb or anybody, you simply put an application in at the town administrator's office, and they'll process it and they'll submit it to the selectmen.
Okay.
It'll
I
have a
realize
questionnaire on it.
That's
Yeah,
a completely different
Brandon
issue,
Town
I
Hall.
realize.
Yeah. It's very simple. Yeah, we need members.
So I'm sorry, but I've kind of lost track on where our vote was.
And yeah, I don't think a vote has been conducted yet, but just to confirm that, so a motion was made to vote to approve the eviction notice of 41 Crestview Street. A vote has not been taken, but I want to just clarify for the record which street we're talking about.
Thank you. So I
can
would like
second
to
that
make,
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to, I vote to, a motion to approve the Hillcrest petition for an eviction notice for 41 Crestview Street. Anyone
I would
second?
second that motion, also vote in the affirmative. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll vote yes as well.
That's Eileen.
Yes.
I vote yes. Brian?
Yeah, I have to vote yes on it. Yes.
Thank
Good
you.
luck,
So
Tony.
that's approved. Mr. Laverty?
Thank you. The next one I have is 68 Fairview Street. That home site was served a 30-day notice to quit for non-payment of rent on September 1st of 2022. At that time, they had an outstanding balance of $1,925.01. That household has been making some payments and making an effort to catch up, but they still have an outstanding balance of $1,548.96. And we're requesting that the rent control board issue a certificate of eviction for 68 Fairview Street.
Then, oh, I see waving hands.
Hi, Howard McGinnis, 68 Fairview. My problem was during COVID, I was laid off and I am trying to catch up. I have payments here from July. I've been trying to pay an extra $200 a month. Tom had an engineer come down 3 months ago almost. And looked under my trailer. Their property is sinking my trailer. I am under cinder blocks, not under a concrete pad, which is supposed to be. Now, to me, this is retaliation. Because I heard nothing about this. 3 weeks later, after the engineer leaves, tells me that my trailer is sinking. All of a sudden, I'm in front of the rent control board for non-payment. Now, actually, they should be paying me to live here because they've destroyed my trailer. Their property is what I pay for, is destroying my trailer.
Sir, have you had any discussion with the building department or or anybody regarding this
Plus,
situation?
Got an engineer to come down.
Do you have any complaints on
Still
file?
waiting on paperwork for that.
It takes 5 minutes at the town hall to fill out a complaint.
Well, if I have to, I have to. I was just trying to work it out. through
Yeah, but
Tom.
it sounds like you've been trying to work it out. So the numbers are what? $1,000?
$1,500, but it was 2,000. I've paid down 500 of it. I plan on paying it down, but now I'm at the point where I can't get homeowners insurance because no insurance company is going to insure me when my trailer's sinking. I can't sell my place because I'd have to tell someone my trailer is sinking. They're not going to buy it. My walls are being separated. I mean, technically, I should be suing them.
Oh, okay. That's something for another day, I think.
Yes. But I just wanted to get that off my chest so that the rent control board knows what's going on.
God bless you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Madam Chairman, I vote to deny this request, given the effort the gentleman has made at $200 a month to get it down to 1,000. Extenuating circumstances on our issue. It just seems to me that the intent has been there. So I'm making a motion to deny this. It may be seconded and it may not pass, but I am.
Okay. Does anyone second that motion?
Is that within our purview to deny it? Because they've given proper, they have a paper trail that they followed that was appropriate?
From what
No.
I understand that, I'm sorry, Dave.
Apologize, Madam Chair, but no, yeah, the bylaw just dictates that if the board just has to find that what is attested to in the park owner or manager's petition are valid, the petition must be granted. So it doesn't seem contested that the $1,500 is owed. Certainly, if if the resident, if he has an argument regarding his eviction process or believes retaliatory, he has avenues of recovery in housing court or other procedures. But for the board's perspective, it's just whether or not what Hillcrest is attesting to is corroborated, which it's not contested that he is behind on rent by $1,500. The attempts to remedy notwithstanding, what Hillcrest is attesting to is correct.
So this may actually just give him an opportunity to fight his case in the housing court. Is that correct?
That's
Yeah,
my understanding.
Yes, this process, and as Attorney Laverty explained earlier, it's not the end of it's really, this is just a step along the eviction process for Hillcrest and the residents. There's much more involved on both parties.
And if I don't have a second, it's denied. So that's okay. Just made my statement.
Well, I make a motion to approve the eviction request by Hillcrest for 68 Fairview Street.
I vote to approve it as well.
I also
Any-
vote to approve.
Okay.
So we have a
And
second
someone-
and one,
Second.
I vote against it. It's 3-1.
Okay. Okay, it's been approved.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, the last
excuse
one
me.
that I had,
Excuse me, Mr. Laverty, if I could, just for the group, just inform everyone what ELS has taken care of for this subject home. So we did hire, upon the request of the resident, we did hire a structural engineer, as we have in the past with other homes, and to take a thorough look at the home and you know, the form, the actual report is forthcoming. Unfortunately, he is delayed due to the holidays and so forth, but I will get a report. He has found that that home, because it was pre-2016 HUD regulation that required a cement slab, it was, you know, on a standard foundation, which is probably crushed gravel. So he looked and found that there is rotted wood supporting his home. So when he purchased the home, that's the condition that he purchased the home in. And, you know, wood to be used on the ground where it's moist isn't conducive to a sound structure. So the report will in fact be made available, you know, to anyone who needs it. We certainly want to help, and that's why I took it upon myself to try to get someone out as quickly as possible. I do apologize for the delay. I don't have control over contractors, as we know, but we certainly want to make it right, you know, for each and every resident, and fulfill what obligations we have with regards to foundation safety, what have you.
Thank you.
so Madam Chairman, the last one that I have before the board is 35B Crestview Street. I'm reviewing the amount owed by this resident this time is less than $100. So I'm going to withdraw this petition for a certificate of eviction for 35B Crestview Street.
Is there anything we have to do with that information? As a
Nope.
board?
If it's withdrawn, no vote is needed.
Okay, good. Okay. So does that
Chairman,
conclude? Pardon me?
That's all I have for certificates of eviction tonight.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes this evening's meeting, the Rent Control Board, November 29th, 2022.